Hello, travel enthusiasts. If you are jumping on a plane or a ship in the days ahead and want to know about the forecast, that's why this channel was created. I'm meteorologist James Van Fleet. Close to 25 years in broadcast television as a meteorologist and chief meteorologist, and then also the chief meteorologist for Royal Caribbean International for about 6.5 years. And starting this channel just in the last couple weeks, as a lot of folks ask for travel forecasts, there's just a void out there. Weather apps will track some things. Of course, when you go to different countries, different apps may not work. And on top of that, I can be a voice for you by your comments and questions, by dropping down in the comments section any question you have, whether it's an individual flight or an entire cruise itinerary. Ask the questions that you're concerned about, and I'll dive in and get you a personal forecast and stay engaged if there are any adverse weather conditions to be concerned about. So our travel weather forecast for Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. First, we'll start with what I'm watching. And for this week, midday thunderstorms are going to be returning to the Yucatan Peninsula tomorrow. You'll see that reflected in your port forecast. Late day thunderstorms also increasing coverage around Jamaica and Dominican. And we're also monitoring two things: some possible swell increase for the Bahamas late week, and then over the weekend that comes into the Eastern Caribbean islands. And also tracking a potential tropical system that is showing up in multiple models now. So first, for the flyers, because a lot of you are the first out the door catching those early morning flights. And while we'll have cooler weather in Boston and Chicago with a high of only 60, most of our hubs are actually going to get a little bit warmer than they were in previous days. Like Dallas will be knocking on the door at 90, Atlanta's going 83, Denver's up to 77, Houston's at 87, Kansas City warming to about 84 degrees. Few areas where we might see some patchy fog. I didn't really see any areas where it was, a quarter of a mile or a tenth of a mile. But some patchy fog in and around Southern California, Southern Texas, and Louisiana are all part of this as a possibility. Still a little cool in New York and Philadelphia, but the winds finally coming down and actually getting that system to pull off the East Coast. Phoenix, we're going to be close to 90 for our high temperature, but a cool and rainy 60 in Seattle. Jumping over to the ports, if you're on ships, and a lot of you are hitting ports, as the middle of the week is a big time for that. In the Bahamas, just absolutely wonderful temperatures in the low 80s. A gentle tropical breeze, only an isolated shower. It'll be a little bit hotter and a better chance of a shower in San Juan with 40% coverage of late day storms. 91 will be our temperature. We're also late in the day of a chance of storms in Jamaica. 40% coverage in Falmouth, 50% chance in Ocho Rios. In Puerto Plata, it's a high rain coverage, but it's well towards the end of the day, at dinner time and later, and a lot of ships in the area will be taking off by then. This is really only if you're visiting the area or if you have an overnight on a ship that would apply to you. And then as you see in the west, we've got some midday storms in Costa Maya and Cancun. Could be any day part in Cozumel. Honduras also late day showers and storms for Roatan. And we are looking at upper 80s in Barbados and Aruba. I have included, this is the first time we're doing it, Southeast Alaska. I know we are late in the season for that, but again, I just started the channel a couple weeks ago, not even a couple weeks ago, and I do want to put this in the mix for you. For those of you curious about Australia and New Zealand and South Pacific, we'll transition the Southeast Alaska forecast to the South Pacific in these briefings in the weeks ahead. A increasing chance of showers and storms are moving in with some increasing wind very late in the day for Icy Strait Point, Juneau, and Skagway. Again, a lot of ships, if stopping there for the day, have left the port by the time this comes in. But if you're still in some of those channels in Southeast Alaska, you'll get in on this as well. Glacier Bay, same thing. High coverage of some cold showers and probably a little bit of a mixture and any slight elevation around Tracy Yarn Fjord with only a high of 37. Sitka, as you can see, like Glacier Bay, it's very late in the day, but the rain coverage is high. I'm also putting out Mediterranean port forecast. Again, I know a lot of ships will be coming back to the Caribbean for the winter months, but there's quite a few that actually still stay in the Med year round. And we put this out on X. It's mid-afternoon here in Miami when I put it out, but it's about 8, 9 o'clock in the afternoon or in the evening, your time, in the Med and in Europe. So you will get a look at these port forecasts both on X at my handle at James Van Fleet, and then also in our briefings. Pretty outstanding weather, though, for much of the Med, as you might expect, although there are some increased rain chances around Naples, Catania, and also around Palma for the next few days. So that is at least the ports that I'm keeping an eye on and what we're watching and concerned about in the days ahead. Now I want to talk about what we were addressing at the top of the briefing, and that is what's going on. Two things for the Atlantic and the Caribbean, and then one out on the Pacific. So the first thing we're watching will be this increased swell here as we get into the middle of the week, Thursday, Friday. You can see that system pulls off in the mid-Atlantic, but what it will do is send some swell, of course, all around Bermuda. So keeping that in mind for the end of the week, if you're sailing to or back from Bermuda, where we got some waves around 16 and even higher at times, 17, 18 feet with that coming through. But what I wanted to point out is that swell will push all the way down into the Bahamas for Friday and Saturday. I still think our Nassau's and our Freeports and our larger main ports in the Bahamas really don't get a lot of this, but it's more if your ship is transiting on the outside of the Bahamas, headed down to the Eastern Caribbean, then you might see some of this, or anybody heading back up towards Boston, New York, and they're coming down here from like areas of Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands and possibly cut through that. But then those increased swell conditions in the north side of the Bahamas, you see at 7 feet. By Sunday, that's going to pull down here as well into San Juan, U.S. Virgin Islands, northern portions of the Lesser Antilles, and that will be much of Sunday. And then by Monday, starts to improve around Puerto Rico, but again, still high here in the Lesser Antilles, where we have around 10 feet or around 3 meters. Not a problem for large ships, but it is going to be something that we do see for areas that have tender ports, possibly impacting those. And then, as I pull back out, I want to also talk about, let me hit Southeast Alaska, because we have got a series of storms that will come in all through the next 10 days. In fact, look at this massive storm here to the south of Kodiak and Anchorage, 32 feet on that. But as we get over here to Southeast Alaska, that's what I want to draw your attention to. This is one of several coming through, and you can see 20 feet on the waves on the outside here, which is where you will get into the Gulf of Alaska, coming out of Vancouver and Seattle up to get into Southeast Alaska in the ports and in the fjords. So that is Friday as a big heads up. And then we'll just see a few impulses coming through. Again, ships transiting back and forth, Seattle and Vancouver up to Southeast Alaska. Late Sunday and into Monday, they're back to around 20, 25 feet. And, when we're talking 5 meters, that you will feel in a ship. A lot of folks will want to grab handrails, maybe minimize movement if you're at the bow or stern of the ship, where you'll feel more of that. And that's not the only one. We will still have waves that will be enclosing around 20 feet here again on Tuesday next week. And then another one right there. In fact, one of the stronger ones the following weekend. We might see 30-foot waves here on the outside of the Gulf of Alaska. Seattle and Vancouver, again, once you're up in there in Puget Sound or up in the Bay, you're completely fine, and we'll be seeing safe conditions. But it's all on the outside here, and that's, again, over the next 10 days. So any of you doing the Southeast Alaskan cruises in these remaining weeks before we really kick into winter will want to be mindful of those days. Could be problematic, both to miss ports of call and also the transit back and forth, as we said. Then on the extended forecast, I just want to show you, there's our low right here, very weak, and that's about a week from now. But as we get into about 9 to 10 days, you can see it starts to take shape. This now showing up in both the European and the American model. And so, again, like we talked about last night, extremely low confidence, but the fact that more models are starting to pick this up piques my interest a little more. And again, I want to update you. We have a lot of time. All next week as well, I'll be putting this in our video discussion. But take a look at the American model. It's a little more aggressive here in the long range in that Sunday the 26th, Monday the 27th. That actually develops a little bit stronger hurricane and is more north than what the European is down here over Belize and southern portions of the Yucatan Peninsula, where the American is between Grand Cayman and Jamaica. This is not an official forecast. If you just skipped ahead, this is just something that I want to watch now that we are seeing this in multiple global models, and want to make you aware that we will want to come back to this in the days ahead. So with that said, I do want to wish you a wonderful evening. Hope everything has been really good out there for those of you who are traveling. And I'll update, of course, airport delays and put out those Mediterranean forecasts on X in the afternoon. That's at James Van Fleet. I'll see you tomorrow evening for another fresh briefing here in your travel weather forecast. In the meantime, be safe out there. Keep a swift eye. Watch those pickpocketers if you are traveling abroad. And have a wonderful day.